has spoken with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, and the conversation discussed consultation between the two ministers on international and regional issues of common interest. The Foreign Minister of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Mohammed Yaslam Baysat, has spoken in a press conference here in Algiers on the proposal of the Polisario Front to find a mutually acceptable solution to the Sahrawi issue. And the International Court of Justice is expected to issue a ruling today, Wednesday, regarding the blockade imposed by the Zionist entity on humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip for several months now. And those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. I'm Asia Bakar. Good afternoon. The Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has spoken by telephone with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, Sergei Lavrov, and the conversation is part of the tradition of regular consultation between the two ministers on international and regional issues of common interest in light of the close strategic partnership between the two countries. The two ministers exchanged views on the main issues on the agenda of the Security Council during Russia's presidency of this Central United Nations body, foremost among which is the question of the decolonization of Western Sahara, on which a resolution is expected before the end of the month. And meanwhile, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, received the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is on official visit to Algeria. The meeting was an opportunity to review the various aspects of the brotherly and cooperative relations between Algeria and Nigeria and to examine ways in which the legislative institutions in both countries can contribute to joint efforts to inject greater momentum into these relations, notably through the activation of parliamentary diplomacy mechanisms and support for the implementation of strategic regional integration projects. And now the Deputy Minister to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the National People's Army General Saeed Changri have visited several stands at the ADEX 2025 International Aerospace and Defense Exhibition on the third day of his visit to the Republic of Korea. The details with Saeed Bouazi.
The visit began at the stand of the Korean company LIG, where the Army General and his accompanying delegation attended a presentation on the company's latest innovations and solutions in the field of air defense systems and cutting-edge technologies. The Army General and his delegation then visited the company's various stands and learned about the various equipment and systems designed and manufactured by the company. LIG executives expressed their desire to strengthen cooperation with Algeria in order to promote the exchange of expertise in areas of mutual interest in the interest of the two friendly countries. Army General Saeed Changriha then visited the Kia Special Vehicles stand, where company officials gave a presentation on the latest models of special vehicles produced by the company, highlighting their modern technologies and advanced industrial capabilities. At the end of his visit, the Army General and his accompanying delegation were received by officials from Korea Aerospace Industries, KAI, where they inquired about the company's current and future projects. On this occasion, the Army General praised the level achieved by the company, stressing the importance of strengthening cooperation and the need to expand the partnership in the areas of research, development, and training.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The Minister of Foreign Trade and Export Promotion, Kamal Razik, has affirmed from Geneva, Switzerland, that Algeria continues its support for development in Africa through the implementation of major continental projects in various fields aimed at strengthening integration and developing African value chains. In his address at the African Ministerial meeting held on the sidelines of the 16th session of the UN Conference on Trade and Development, Mr. Razik said Algeria supports African development through major projects like the Trans-Saharan Highway gas pipeline and a continental high-speed internet network, while also promoting intra-African trade.
Algeria affirms that development in Africa will only be achieved through effective solidarity, the exchange of expertise and joint investment in infrastructure and the development of continental value chains. The African Continental Free Trade Area represents a strategic tool aimed at supporting continental integration through the removal of various barriers, particularly customs ones, and seek to facilitate the movement of goods, services and capital.
Mr. Razik said the 16th UN Conference on Trade Development session comes amid global crises challenging Africa's development, notably debt, low investment, and high prices, while climate change and the digital gap threaten food and technological security. Now, the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Mr. Azouz Nasri, has met in Geneva with the President of the Pan-African Parliament, Mr. Chief Fortune Charombera, on the sidelines of the 151st Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union. Mr. Charfi.
The meeting, held within the framework of strengthening coordination between the Algerian Parliament and regional and international parliamentary bodies, was an opportunity to review development on the international scene as well as those concerning the African continent. Mr. Nasri stressed the need to strengthen joint action and promote African parliamentary cooperation to unify positions in international forums and ensure the well-being of African peoples. Both sides also discussed Africa's security and development challenges, with Mr. Nasri reaffirming Algeria's commitment to peaceful solutions and to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. In this regard, he recalled the decision of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to create the Algerian Agency for International Cooperation for Solidarity and Development, intended to support sustainable development projects in fields such as health, education, and agriculture, while welcoming the success of the 4th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, IITF, held in early September in Algiers. For his part, Mr. Chief Fortune Charombera praised Algeria's historic position in support for the liberation movements, as well as its constant efforts to strengthen common African cooperation.
The Foreign Minister of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Mohammed Yaslam Baysat, has spoken in a press conference here in Algiers on the proposal of the Polisario Front to find a mutually acceptable solution to the Sahrawi issue. Our colleague Wahiba Miri was on the spot and had this as a soundbite.
الاقتراح الصحراوي يتضمن ميزات وخصائص جديدة ومهمة.
The Sahrawi proposal includes new important features, the first being that it comes as voluntary and good faith response from the Sahrawi side to the repeated appeals that the UN Security Council has long addressed to both parties in its recommendations over the past years, constantly calling on them to broaden and develop their proposals. Secondly, the Sahrawi people is in full harmony with the rules and norms of international law, which cannot be bypassed, particularly those related to the settlement of disputes, as embodied in the Charter and regulations of the United Nations, as well as in the binding decisions of international courts.
He added that the proposal is a sincere and friendly step to ensure peace and find a lasting solution.
يمثل مقترح خطوة ودية صادقة.
The proposal represents a friendly, sincere, and noble step from the Sahrawi people toward the Moroccan neighbors. It is a truly outstretched hand for a comprehensive, lasting, and just solution, which we hope will be met with goodwill. The Sahrawi proposal is comprehensive and democratic, guided by the possible option within the framework of decolonization and the exercise of the right to self-determination, including independence, integration into the Moroccan state, or other options contained in the relevant resolution of the UN General Assembly, particularly Resolution 1541 of 1960 and Resolution 2625 of 1970. The Polisario Front defends the option of national independence but will at the same time respect the will and free choice of the Sahrawi people, whatever it may be. However, we will not allow any option to be imposed on them. The Sahrawi proposal stems from our aspirations as an African and Maghreb people in light of the urgent importance and necessity of accelerating Maghreb integration and unity in the northern part of the African continent.
Let's note that the statement was made at a press conference held here in Algiers. And the president of the Arab Committee for Solidarity with the Sahrawi People, Mahmoud Salah, has said that the website of the committee has been attacked by sources from France and Morocco, stressing that this was not the first time.
تعرضت مواقع اللجنة العربية للتضامن مع الشعب الصحراوي.
The website of the Arab Committee for Solidarity with the Sahrawi people have been subjected for the 8th time in 2 years to an organized cyber attack that we tracked through the technical team on the website of the Arab Committee. It turned out that it was from France and a large percentage from the Kingdom of Morocco. Unfortunately, this issue is happening for the 8th time as the website of the Arab Committee for Solidarity with Sahrawi people are being targeted. This indicates that the voice of this committee, the role of this committee, and the seminars and activities that it carries out have become very influential in supporting the issue of the Sahrawi people and thus have become annoying to the occupying Moroccan regime.
النظام المحتل المغربي.
And that was a statement of the President of the Arab Committee for Solidarity with the Sahrawi people, Mahmoud Salah. Now, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, is expected to issue a ruling regarding the blockade imposed by the Zionist entity on humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip for several months now. The ruling will include an assessment of the Zionist entity's attacks targeting UN staff and facilities in Gaza. The anticipated ruling is of great international importance and will increase pressure on the Israeli occupation to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. The media office in the Gaza Strip has said that of the 608 aid trucks expected each day in the Palestinian enclave, only 980 have entered since the ceasefire began on October 10th after 2 years of Zionist aggression. Said Bouazi has the details.
The media office in the Gaza Strip said that the average number of lorries entering the Palestinian enclave daily since the start of the ceasefire was just over 89 compared to the 600 expected each day, a situation described by the office as continuous suffocation, starvation and humanitarian blackmail practiced by the occupation against more than 2.4 million citizens in Gaza. The statement warned that limited supplies do not even meet minimum humanitarian and vital needs, urging an immediate and regular influx of at least 600 trucks per day, including food, medical supplies, relief items, fuel and cooking gas in order to ensure the basic conditions for survival. The office also reaffirmed that local government agencies remain ready to coordinate their efforts fully with international humanitarian and relief organizations to facilitate the entry of aid and ensure its equitable distribution in all governorates and vital facilities in the Gaza Strip. For its part, the World Food Programme said that supplies entering Gaza remained far below the daily target of 2,000 tons. World Food Programme data indicate that about 750 tons of food are now entering the Gaza Strip daily, but this is still far below the level needed after a 2-year war that reduced much of the Gaza Strip to rubble. UNICEF spokesperson Ricardo Perez, for his part, said that humanitarian response remains far below the required level and called for all crossings to be reopened.
Let's recall that the media office in the Gaza Strip has said that of the 608 trucks expected each day in the Palestinian enclave, only 89 have entered since the ceasefire began. The Israeli Occupation Knesset's General Assembly is voting today on a draft law to annex the occupied West Bank to Israeli occupation by imposing their sovereignty over parts of it. Last July, it approved a declaration calling for the imposition of the occupation sovereignty in the West Bank with a majority of 71 members. Now, the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has firmly condemned the repeated assaults by the Zionist occupation and settlers against the Palestinian farmers, including olive harvesters in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry said repeated settler assaults under the protection of the Israeli army reflect a systematic policy to target Palestinians and block access to their lands. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has called for preserving the recently concluded ceasefire on the Gaza Strip between the Israeli occupation and Palestinian resistance movement Hamas, stressing that the agreement was of crucial importance. And now the Zionist occupation forces have arrested 16 Palestinians, including a child, in Al-Khalil in southern occupied West Bank. Security and local sources quoted by Wafa reported that the occupation forces violently beat and mistreated a number of former detainees during the raid on their homes. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International and to Sudan now. More than 3,000 people have left their homes in North Darfur State and about 1,200 others in Western Darfur and South Kordofan states due to intensified hostilities, reported the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, citing the International Organization for Migration. The violence is causing new waves of displacement in various regions of Sudan. Mr. Chofi.
According to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, estimates last week alone, more than 3,000 people were forced to flee their homes in North Darfur, including 1,500 who fled the besieged state capital, the town of El Fasher, and another 1,500 who left the village of Abu Gamra. Tension has also increased considerably in the Kordofan area. On October 18th, 1,000 people left the town of Lagawa in West Kordofan state due to the worsening situation. The day before, an air raid on the village of Mazrub in North Kordofan state killed at least 17 people, according to OCHA figures, and more than 200 people were forced to leave the area. The situation has also deteriorated in South Kordofan state due to artillery bombardments and drone attacks. The town of Dilling and the state capital, Kadugli, remain under siege, supply routes are blocked, and the shortage of essential goods is worsening every day. Moreover, the Rapid Support Forces carried out another drone attack today, the second in 2 days, targeting Khartoum airport, said a military source, attributing the strikes, which it said were intercepted by air defense, to the Rapid Support Forces. The airport, which was already targeted by a drone attack yesterday, according to witnesses, was initially scheduled to reopen today for domestic flights for the first time in more than 2 years, but the resumption of operations remains uncertain for the time being.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and that's it for our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to the international event of the week.
The international event of the week.
A tenuous but significant ceasefire is holding in Gaza, marking a pivotal time in the first stage of US President Trump's peace plan. The plan is considered a framework for negotiations held under international mediation, is aimed at ending the war in Gaza and allowing in humanitarian aid into the devastated Palestinian territory. In this respect, the UN humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, urged the Israeli occupying authorities to open more crossing points and on both sides to implement the terms of the ceasefire agreement, saying it is essential to not squander the progress made through the deal. In a similar move, the UN and the International Committee of the Red Cross called for the reopening of all crossing points to allow in aid. This came as the Israeli occupying authorities imposed new restrictions on aid entering the Gaza Strip, announcing notably that the Rafah crossing points will not be opened. Asked if such restrictions are part of the dilatory maneuvers used by the Israeli occupying authorities to put more pressure on the Palestinians, our political analyst Hamid Salhi has this to say.
Indeed, these kind of obstacles are put to pressure Palestinians to surrender, leave Palestine, give up their resistance, and since that didn't happen, starve them to death. That is the overall Israeli goal. This plan is not designed, according to the Israelis, to last. After all, we have been here before. A day before President Donald Trump took office on January 19th of this year, he orchestrated a ceasefire that lasted 2 months until March 18, only to see the Israelis going back to themselves, committing genocide. There is no evidence that this time around is different. Israelis have not changed their position or narrative. Religious fanatic leaders like Smotrich, who openly support the genocide of Palestinians, building Jewish settlements in Gaza, made his intention very clear just after the ceasefire announcement that the occupation of Gaza by settlers is long overdue. They have been patient, according to him, and determined for that to happen now. The Western media bias toward the Palestinians has not changed either. which heavily has been focusing on the Palestinians to meet the peace deal requirement, but no mentions of the Israeli obligations. The plan itself makes no mention of Palestinian statehood, which the United Nations General Assembly endorsed just recently. Yet again, in his address before the Israeli Knesset, President Donald Trump spoke for peace through strength, underscoring a realist paradigm that endorses military capabilities and excessive use of force by the state actors to establish order, and it is seen as the best method to protect their national interest, and only mentioned Palestinian twice in his speech, first at the 20-minute mark and later at the 40th in a speech that lasted over an hour. For a good peace plan, Palestinians have to be heard. As one reporter puts it, the people with the most to lose, whose world has been literally flattened with their loved ones still remain, 24 months on, buried under rubble, are shut out from the discussion entirely. This ceasefire gives us little or no reason to expect anything other than a matter of time before Israel goes back to its genocidal acts. President Donald Trump can save the Palestinians, save us, humanity, from that, but only he can do that at this point.
The enforced ceasefire in Gaza allows for prospects of rebuilding the Palestinian territory, which has been virtually devastated by the Israeli bombardments. According to the UN Development Programme Special Representative for the Palestinian, Jack Orsilius, the level of destruction in the Strip is estimated at 84% and reaches up to 92% in Gaza City. The UN estimates that the damage amounts to $70 billion, raising concerns about the huge amounts of money needed to rebuild the homes, hospitals, services and infrastructure destroyed by the Israeli strikes. The reconstruction of Gaza remains the most urgent task that could start once a transitional technocratic Palestinian committee is set up. Ask if such a committee could be set up soon and whether all conditions are met for its setting up. Our political analyst Hamoud Salhi has the following.
There are so many reasons why this committee has not been established yet. But in general, one could see that the plan has no deadline for the establishment of the committee. In fact, except for the 72 hours the plan imposed on the Palestinians to free the hostages, the plan leaves the door wide open for Israel to decide whenever it wants to move with phase 2. Point 16, for example, allows the Israelis to determine if Hamas has disarmed before it moves or it withdraws from any territories in Gaza. Similarly, this plan bypasses the Palestinians and offers no path for statehood. It puts the governing of Gaza under a Trump-led board of peace, similar to those established during colonial time, when the colonizers determined that the colonized are uncivilized to rule themselves by themselves. This plan is no different. It has no definite time when this board will pass the authority to Palestinians, only to state that the board will remain in power until the Palestinian Authority can securely and effectively take place control of Gaza. There is no explanation how will that to happen. But a glaring omission in this plan is the absence of any references in the plan to United Nations Resolution 242 or 338 or other United Nations General Resolution that favor or speak of a two-state solution and the right of Palestinians to self-determinations. So questions surrounding the governing of Gaza remain unanswered. Despite President Donald Trump's announcement of the start of Phase 2 just recently, the establishment of Transitional Technocratic Palestinian Committee is still unresolved. This is most likely will take time, and as we've suggested earlier, that the plan gives Israel freedom to decide when that committee be established and under what circumstances. And so it could be a long haul before we are at that phase. But all depends on how serious President Donald Trump about moving forward with Phase 2, and at least start to think about the right of the Palestinians to be part of this process. And until then, this vagueness, the lack of a plan, clearly a plan that favors the Palestinians, appears to be more by design than anything else. It favors the Israelis more than anything else.
For many in Gaza, where construction is more than repairing homes, it is about restoring hope to those who have lost almost everything.
That was the international event of the week, and now I invite you to listen to a cultural program compiled and presented by Jamal Salmani.
Welcome to your weekly program, Destination Algeria. I'm Jamal Salmani. There are a number of great destinations in Algeria just waiting to be discovered. A curious mixture of cultures and influences, Algeria has something interesting to see in just about every city. The country is also the first largest on the African continent, so you can be sure that there are plenty of towns and cities to visit. Let's visit Algeria's fascinating destinations, you and I, together. The northeast region of Algeria is diverse and fascinating to say the least. With its majestic rugged coastline, high plains, breathtaking mountain ranges, picturesque farmlands and sunny beaches, tourists flock to the various cities and towns located here. Algeria has many noteworthy sites and historical attractions scattered across its wonderful landscapes, and in the northeast region, visitors will find a new discovery in every destination. Traveling through this region is a great experience, presenting an opportunity to explore the true beauty of the country. Significant cities such as Timgad, Jmila, Annaba, Constantine, Betna and Stif are all located in Algeria's northeast region. The fourth largest city in Algeria is Annaba, and it is situated in the Annaba province, known for its exciting and varied nightlife and being home to some of the best beaches in the country. Annaba is a popular destination.